Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Opposition wants full disclosure of NEPA trade winds confidential agreement following December 2023 oil spill. 1 killed, 2 injured in Manchester. And later in sports, John Campbell facing possible 8-match ban for Super 50 Cup forfeiture. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry Simpson. Here are the details. The opposition is calling for full disclosure of the confidential agreement between the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, the National Environment and Planning Agency, and Tradewind Citrus Limited. This after the Environmental Agency dropped the charges against the company it identified as being responsible for the pollution of the Rio Cobre in December 2023. The bombshell revelation was made in the St. Catherine Parish Court yesterday. Now, Shadow Spokesman on Environment has questions.
As a body that is charged with protecting our natural resources, it is important that its powers are exercised in a transparent way. We understand that a confidential agreement was entered into by the parties, and we wish to ascertain whether the residents who were impacted by the pollution, whether they were part of the decision-making process or whether they are part of the mediation or the discussion that took place. We also wish to ascertain the terms and the conditions of this confidential agreement that was entered into.
President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mark Smith, is blasting the government for what he describes as being too dependent on a quick fix. Addressing educators at a St. Mary Teachers Association meeting on Wednesday, Mr. Smith said the education sector is woefully underinvested in.
Teachers from Kenya, India, when we don't want to tackle the fundamental problem, which is the remuneration of the teachers. The working conditions of teachers as I travel around the island and seeing schools where chichi will all eat you if you're not careful. Hello? When teachers sitting on a chair that somebody used some duct tape and tape up one of the legs. And if you look at many of the schools and you look at the children sitting in those classrooms, the classroom look identical as when their parents sat in those chairs, as when their grandparents, have your mind sharp, the great-grandparents too.
It is why he is calling on the government to make strategic changes to the sector.
And so we need to change the fundamental dynamic. And now that we have access, universal access to primary and secondary education, we need to move with greater alacrity towards quality education. And quality education is not just teacher instruction. People like to say that. That is a part of it. And in my experience, being a former school inspector, traveling the length and breadth of this beautiful island, the hills and the valleys, I have come across teachers doing remarkable things with very little.
1 man is dead and 2 others hospitalized after they were shot at their house in Hibernia District, Manchester last night. The deceased has been identified as 45-year-old Evan Gibson, a laborer of the community. According to reports, about 10 o'clock, someone purporting to be a policeman went to the back of the house and called Mr. Gibson. When he opened the door, he was shot. Now, 2 other persons who were present were also shot, a man in his foot and a woman in her breast. A relative of the deceased spoke with our news team.
This man talked to me, so now I did come take down the decking board for me. He says, yes, Daddy, that country I can't take you home. Him and his uncle. That's what happened there. Take my son alive. I was shocking already. That's my flight house. My flight house. I said, when my son dead? And when I grew on him, I said, yes, I'm a galang. I don't feel my foot sticky, like my foot want to take up and it can't take up. I blood my foot in now.
There appears to be a resolution to the taxi operators' protest in St. Anne. Those who ply the Discovery Bay to St. Anne's Bay route were kicked out of a gas station where they conducted their business. CEO of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, Jennifer Brown Cunningham, says the entity has since met with Discovery Bauxite, who has committed to providing it with land for the taxmen to be relocated.
Because of the social good to be derived as the property is valuable real estate. The Corporation has been asked to present a design for the use of the property. I am to advise that we are in advanced preparation and will meet the deadline for the board meeting, which is set for December 10. In the short term, we have agreed that the municipal corporation will get access to the property as early as next week to allow the taxis to operate from that space. We are also discussing the provision of temporary bathroom facilities and covering for the use of the operators as well as the commuting public.
The taxi drivers have been reacting.
Action speaks louder than words. The fact that we are displaced, we'll be on the road with our road license until the park is provided.
Hopefully next week, Wednesday, we will get the approval Tuesday. So Wednesday we will be ready to roll around the new park.
We are happy. At least we have somewhere for ourselves.
Telecommunications provider Flow has responded to a protest by customers served by its Ocherius branch. The people complained about long wait times and the level of service.
They need to be training customer services. They're so rude. And first you come at 9, 4:30, you're still sitting down, no toilet facilities, nowhere you can even get a drink of water. The air condition is very cold.
I need to communicate with England with my bank and I can't do it. So I'm going to land up trouble because I've got to pay bills. They're a terrible service.
In a statement, the company apologized to the customers, adding that it takes complaints very seriously. The company further explained that the store has been experiencing high traffic of customers this week as people visit for month-end bill payments. Flo says they have been complexed by the planned network upgrades this week that has caused unavoidable service disruptions in the Ocherius area. Be patient with us. That's the word from Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahou Fort, as a collective effort is now being made to address the long-standing issue of lengthy wait times to conduct business at government offices. O'Shane Masters reports.
For decades, Jamaicans have been complaining about the long wait times in conducting business at government agencies like tax offices. But speaking at a recent Global Services Industry meeting, Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahou Fort said now that the macroeconomic matters have been addressed, the Andrew Holness-led government can now focus on addressing those long-standing issues.
I assure you that your wait will not be in vain. The government of Jamaica will emerge better. But you know, process can be painful, very painful. And sometimes things appear worse before they get better. Other times, the darkest hour is before dawn.
She told the gathering that even though there has been great improvement on the macroeconomic front, much work remains.
Even though we have managed to get the macroeconomic fundamentals right, we are still struggling with efficient processes, and we're still struggling with getting things done in time.
She went further.
And then with the scarcity of the money and the demand for a lot to be done, standards were revised downwards. So when you wonder about the quality of the infrastructure work, poor quality, there is a connection between that and what happened in government for the many years of economic decline and stagnation.
Mrs. Malahou Fort, however, noted that things are about to change as the government is becoming more people-centered as the country's fiscal space is now better, and especially with increased focus of making the country a republic. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
It's time for a break. Stay with us, more local stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It's time for the Business Minute.
First Rock Real Estate Investments registered net losses totaling $674,536 for the quarter ended September. The results were driven primarily by unrealized foreign exchange losses on translation of foreign currency denominated liabilities, which amounted to $72,034 for the 3 months ended September 30. Additionally, interest expense at First Rock amounted to $118,839 for the 3 months under review. According to the company's quarterly report, the group's financial performance continues to reflect the impact of the ongoing high interest rate environment, which exerts downward pressure on property values, resulting in lower property income relative to prior year. Now, further afield, TikTok is rolling out changes that will affect teens who use the social media app. In the coming weeks, the company will begin restricting the use of some appearance effects for users under the age of 18. It comes after concerns were raised by teens and parents in a new study. The restrictions will apply to some effects that alter someone's appearance but may be hard to detect, like beauty filters. TikTok says it will also provide more information about how an effect will change someone's appearance if it is applied. The company says it already proactively lets users know when certain effects have been used. For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top regional and international stories. To the top regional and international stories. And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.